Yeah, that's because of the old eyes. Actually, okay, so we're gonna continue with some micro soldering journey today, but it's not about the connector. The connector's easy now. I said in the first video, when we removed this connector, and I still have some holes to clean up on here, that I knocked an SMD off of here, and I had no idea where it was. And obviously, I didn't even think about the super obvious, which you guys were like, Jay, just find a high-res photo of the board, and then compare it to yours. And so I found where it came from. It's also the smallest component on the board. Today's video is sponsored by Grizzly, and if you're building a custom loop, you need to check out DeltaMate, their first complete lineup of custom water cooling hardware. DeltaMate is built for uncompromising thermal performance, but what really makes it different is how much it simplifies the whole process through modularity and precision manufacturing. And instead of needing a mountain of random fittings to finish one loop, DeltaMate uses just 9 modular SKUs to create over 20 traditional configurations, so you get way more flexibility with way less hassle. Everything has a consistent outer diameter, installs cleanly with an 8mm hex key, and even includes rotatable aesthetic covers so you can keep the build looking perfect no matter how your tubing routes. And whether you're running soft or hard tubing, DeltaMate supports multiple sizes including 16mm, plus newly added 14mm hard tube and 13mm soft tube. It also comes in black and matte nickel, so it'll match pretty much any build theme. Check out Grizzly DeltaMate at the link below. All right, so I found where it's missing. Now, obviously, as you can see, I have some cleanup to do on the connector. There's some scratches on there. I'll fix all that after I do have solder mask. It looks like it's wobbling around like crazy because it is so damn small. Like 1mm of movement will do that. Plus, this is a mic arm. It's not as stiff as I think it should be, so I still have some setup to increase. But I'm having fun trying to kit out this soldering station, but I'm not overcoming the skill with hardware. Anyways, what I wanted to show you is, you know how small these connectors are, right? These are the sense wires right here for the 12 volt high power. Obviously that's ground, or those are ground, and then this is 12 volt. This is where I knocked that piece off. Now I don't even know exactly what it is. Obviously it's a resistor of some sort, and I'm gonna yank one off of this board because I basically am just operating under it's black and the same size. It should be right. It might even work without that piece. It's this whole area, this whole corner area of the board. I'm not sure what this controls, to be honest. But to me, this is more about soldering practice, and the board should hopefully work after. But to give you an idea of how small this is, these are the tips. This is the tip of my very small micro tweezers. And if you want a true size comparison as to how small it is, allow me to show you. There it is, next to a micro SD card.
I like how the micro SD doesn't even fit in the whole frame.
I know. There it is. The board is already prepped. I've already got the right kind of solder on here, because I'm gonna be honest, I've already done this like 3 times for practice, and I've gotten, I think, pretty decent at it. So yeah, this is the solder I already added. Well, it's like a hair on there. This is the solder I already added right here. It is my lead-free stuff. It's pretty clean. I'm gonna reuse that. I don't think I need to wick it away because I've already wicked away like the silver solder that they use in the factory, so I can just reuse that. So with that said, let's go ahead now and yank a clean one, a new one, off of here. But I'm gonna try using that guy right there. We need to go ahead and just heat the board a little bit. Not much. Doesn't take much heat at all because, like I said, these are surface mounted components here. The cool thing about the SMD stuff is I don't need a board heater. I don't have to do a lot of preheating on the board. I will have to, though, when I do the connector, which will be the other part I have to clean up. But I'm really curious if this is gonna work. Also, too, I wanna point out the other 5090 is fixed. I've got really even pin distribution in terms of amps. And I had to do solder mask repair on that board because I scratched the living shit out of that board working on it. The only thing is I think I killed the red LED that shows up on the board when you don't have a 12 volt plugged in. That doesn't turn on anymore. I'm surprised that board even works at all with the amount of abuse it went through, to be honest. To give you an idea of how, again, how small that is, here's the flux applicator. Put a little low melt on there. There it is. I know it looks all kind of charred right now, but that's the flux. Okay, there we go. There we go. It looks all charred and burned. Again, that's the flux. Look at that. It's like I used to build model ships with these tweezers, huh? Okay, so we don't need the hot tweezers anymore. We need the soldering station. I have a smaller tip on there. It's still a chisel tip. Okay, so now... Look at the size of that chisel tip. The other way it just flowed right to the pad. Now it's a little crooked, but that's okay. Well, yeah, I might use the tweezers to move it because it just hardened in that position. That's not the way we wanted it to go. Scooch over. Scooch on over. Did I just do it the first time using the right tool? Which is giving it an overall cleaner look to it too. Does it wipe off? That was like 2 seconds, right? Yesterday I did it with the big tip and it was fine. I'm rubbing pretty hard right now and it's not popping off. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Let me show you. Then I'm gonna fix the connector. Not gonna take you guys along for that ride, I don't think, because I've already done that enough, but now keep in mind, that is very tiny. Like, I cannot even see that with my eyes. Can we just please address the fact that I have successfully removed that from one board and transferred it to another straight and very firmly connected? And I don't think the solder looks any worse than the other shit around it. Okay. So that's on there. I feel like we've spent a lot of time on this. I just have 2 holes I need to clean out. Well, 3 technically. 1 sense pin, and then the two standoffs. I'm gonna try and wick those clean. If not, then I'm just gonna use my solder sucker. But I finally saw Northwest Repair's video that he made for me about how to wick clean. I ordered the mechanic wick that he uses, which is really good. It's a nice thick braid. The problem is it takes like 3 weeks to get here. So I do have rosin like saturated braided wick that I can try right now, but I've got to get a lot of heat into this board first, especially these guys right here, because they are on the ground plane. Now, what I do have this time, which I didn't have last time, is this actual desoldering alloy. It's not just low melt, but it's like, I guess all low melt technically is a desoldering alloy, but this is like specifically designed apparently for desoldering. So I'm gonna try this today and see if this is maybe some of the magic that I've been missing. Because I've tried wicking through holes clean and I just can never get it all to come out. It always just stays in the innermost layers and drives me insane. So maybe what we'll do is we'll just leave this recording. Maybe we'll just time lapse it rather than me talking through it. We'll solder the new connector in and we'll see if this guy works. Okay, I used a combination of solder wick and solder suckerer, and it worked fine. Still getting, yeah, that's rosin in there. That's bad. Anyway, I gotta clean the board up now. I'm gonna take it to my ultrasonic, just completely submerge it in IPA and get it all this stuff clean. Get that soldered back on. I'll put the board back together. We'll just time lapse me resoldering it back on. I still think the connector's harder than any of the SMD stuff because the heat matters more. But all right, let me clean this board up. Okay, it's working. Fun fact, you notice that time lapse just kind of stopped. I was having a hard time getting that connector to reattach. One ground pin, I think something happened with the hole, got oxidized or something, even though I've tried cleaning out as best I could. So what's happening is one ground pin absolutely refused to have any solder connect to the board. So the solder just kept flowing down the pin, and then it got a big solder bubble inside the connector, like where all the pins are, and it was like bridging everything together. So I took the connector back off, managed to get it off without melting it, and then used solder wick to clean all that crap out of the connector and then reuse the connector. But then there is literally like no connection in that ground, like the center, like 1, 2, 3, 4, so number 4 pin, which I'm kind of like fine, because this card pulls such low power anyway. I think 5 ground pins will be plenty. Obviously this board is just staying internally. For me, it's still a practice board, but hey, it's working. So I never tried to boot it without that SMD, so I don't know if it would or wouldn't have worked without it, but the bottom line is I didn't break anything, apparently. Still works just fine. Got the wire view on here to check for pin distribution. Let me go ahead and just start up Heaven real quick. Because I'm curious as to how much power it draws too, because for whatever reason, Hardware Info isn't seeing power draw, or isn't reporting power draw on this card. It's a 180 watt card. I don't think it needs all 6 grounds. Obviously it's working. Pin distribution looks pretty good. I mean, look, 2.3, 2.4, 2.2, 2.6, 2.6, 2.8. 3 times yesterday I removed that SMD and put it back and practiced putting it back and cleaning the joint and putting it back. And then today I did it twice. Because what you also don't know is while trying to get the connector back on, I knocked it off again. But that's because it's a much lower melting temperature solder that was on there after repairing it versus like the factory stuff. So when I was dealing with trying to get that ground pin to like actually give me a good solder joint, I was pumping so much heat in the board, I think it softened up that joint again for the SMD. And then when I was using hot air, I think it blew away because I couldn't find it anywhere. But it's like literally looking for a hair, the tip of a hair in a very messy environment. But it's working. It's working. I'm so happy right now. That means from me starting this journey, I thought I broke this board, but I didn't. It's pretty scratched. Like this is the first one I learned on before even attempting the 5090, but the bottom line is everything is working. I'm so freaking happy right now. Is it going? Yeah. Not because, I mean, just because I learned a new skill. Like it's at 48, oh, that's the CPU. It is currently at 51.9C with just this little janky setup because it's such a low watt card, 180 watt card, man. So much of my improvement has not just been watching the experts, but it's also been listening to your guys' feedback and the emails you guys have been sending. I don't know what's wrong with that pad or like that through hole and why it won't adhere to it. It's just that one. Oh, and one of the sense pins started doing it too. So it's almost like I thought maybe flux was getting in there and then the flux was oxidizing and that was creating a layer, but I ultrasonic cleaned it with 99% IPA and it didn't improve. So I don't know what that's all about. But let's go ahead and go over there and show you guys that. So SMDs now, capable of doing that cleanly. Remember, technically this whole journey didn't start with the CPU pin fix. It started with the trying to shunt mod my Titan RTX Titan card, and then having Louis Rossmann scream and hiss at his monitor, yelling, "Heat the board." Well, I heated the board all right. Okay, I understand it looks like a dog chewed on this. Okay, that's because I actually at one point was desperate and I took the scratchy end, almost like the metal brush part of this, and was even like trying to scratch the hole. And that's why it looks like it's scratched on top of the solder joints and stuff. But like I said, still technically a practice board for me. But as you can see, this is the one. Wait a minute, I think I just answered my own question, Phil. All the copper's gone. Apparently I burned away all the copper. That's PCB material. Okay.
That's something that I have done before. I've lifted an entire, you know, like the SMD pads?
Yeah.
I've lifted the whole pad off of it once and ruined a drone board before.
Okay, so yeah, this is from holding the iron against it too long. Okay, never mind, I answered my own question. I completely lifted it right there. So I think the only way that this could be fixed is like, you'd have to scratch, and there's still so much flux on here. Anyway, you'd have to scratch away, I think, all of the mask around it and then like probably coil a wire or something, and I don't know. So my problem was I approached this like the 5090 and I hit it with a lot of heat, and that was enough heat to like as I was like, I bet you I solder sucked it off. And that's probably
Yeah.
why this is like no longer like, oh, that's the other one. I was like, wait, what? Let's watch. Good. It's got some gunkiness in there. All right, never mind, I answered my own question, but it still works. If anything, that just shows you how absolutely robust these are. I now know like a 70 tier product like this does not need the heat a 5090 Astral does to do stuff. But that is why I'm practicing and learning. All right, so disregard, don't answer my question, I already did. 3 different spots ripped.
Unless we're both wrong, so please answer if we're both wrong.
I am, okay, look, I am fairly confident that that is straight up,
That's what it looks like to
that
me.
it looks like straight up PCB material. I don't care, it works. I'm just gonna mark, like, I'm gonna, on the PCB, I'm gonna put like an R for repair dish. And then we'll call it a day. I'm having fun though. You know what I'm gonna do next? Reball. At least I have a jig. Okay, bye.